So I would like to formally introduce you to Dr. Hesu Whitten. He's a fabulous chiropractor, but he's so much more than that. I've had the privilege of having him speak at my classes before. He not only is a very talented chiropractor working with muscles and bone structures, but he also has a very vast knowledge on the emotional aspects of and how that transfers into your physical body. So he will also be demonstrating what's called muscle testing, which is a way for him to basically contact what your body is aware of that your conscious mind might not be aware of. So it blows your mind when you first see it, and I'm hoping that he'll demonstrate it on you guys a little bit, show you a few things. So let's have a round of applause for Dr. Whitten.
Thank you so much. How long have you been in this class?
This is the end of the second week.
Second week?
So we're just beginning.
So, stress is a huge topic. I can talk about stress. I mean, there's physical stress. There's, I mean, can you think of like what's an example of a physical stress?
My sickness.
Sickness, yeah, physical. That's true. So there would be like a chemical aspect of a physical stress, or weightlifting, or if you get into a car accident, physical trauma is a stress. Lynn was saying that I guess you have a book of 24 chapters all on stress, so it's a vast subject.
It really is.
I guess having your cell phone by your ear would be electromagnetic stress, right? All kinds of stress, things that are bombarding our system that that challenge it in some way. I guess that's one way you could look at stress. Something that's you're calm and peaceful, and something comes in to disrupt that. I guess maybe that's one way you could look at stress. We're going to talk about today. We're going to look at kind of like the mental, emotional aspects of stress. Can everyone move their fingers? Okay. All right. So if I ask you to do that, no problem, right? So how about if I tell you, don't be stressed? Right? It's something that we have a hard time controlling, right? Or if I say, be stressed. Come on, be stressed. It's not something we can control, right? Like our breathing. So one of the things I'm going to talk about is how do we get a handle on this thing, right? It's not good for us, right? So the reason we're studying this is so that we can not be it, right? We're trying to learn how to go through life and get some sort of control on this thing called stress, right? So this positive stress, you go weightlifting, that's a positive stress. You're doing something to your body that causes it to change in a positive way. So not all stress is negative, but when we talk about being stressed, like emotionally stressed, what are we talking about? What's the cause of being emotionally stressed? You want to switch it to that?
Sure.
I once heard something like this. I thought, wow, that's kind of a good summary. It's the idea that life is going to present us with a set of circumstances or a situation that we don't know if we're going to be able to handle it, right? So if a 4-year-old comes up and attacks you, do you get stressed? Right? I mean, maybe if he has a gun, but no. But assuming he doesn't have a weapon, a 4-year-old comes up and attacks you, you don't get stressed. Why? Because you know you can handle it, right? Does that make sense? So if you then look at, if you're going through life and you're going, gosh, I'm stressed, you can look at what is it that I don't think I'm going to be able to handle? What's the challenge that I'm questioning my own abilities to deal with that situation? So then the game becomes convincing your subconscious mind. The game then becomes convincing yourself that you can handle the situation. And so we'll go into a little bit of that, how you do that. So Has anyone heard of Byron Katie's work? Byron Katie, anyone heard of her? She's actually pretty famous. She lives up in Ojai. She sold millions of books. And she does work in jails, prisons. And she was actually insane. She was a mother, and she kind of had like a mental nervous breakdown. I think she lived in like Bakersfield or something like that. That'd be enough for me. But she was a mom and a real estate agent or something, and all of a sudden she just had a mental break, and she found herself in a mental hospital. And she was so crazy they put her in a room by herself, and I think she was lying there for a few days. And when she came out of whatever state she was in, she was lying there on the floor, and she kind of like had an out-of-body experience where she kind of looked at her life and what her beliefs are about herself and her life and what people thought of her and all those sort of things. And she kind of looked at the thoughts that were running her life, and she said, I wonder if that thought is true. Like, if God were standing here, would he say that thought was true? Like, is that thought absolutely true, that people don't like me, or I'm no good, or whatever the thought is that was causing her stress. And then she had the thought, how do I react when I believe that thought? So she kind of got to observe when she believes those thoughts, how she reacts. She's mean, she's defensive, she's angry. And then she had the thought, gosh, what if I was like an alien? What if I was like a dog and I was incapable of thinking that thought? How would my life be different if I was incapable of thinking that thought? So she just kind of looked at the thoughts. See, her premise was that it's not the circumstances in life that cause you stress, it's your thoughts about them, right? When we talk about stress, we're talking about our mind, right? Like if there's a fire in the room, do you have a problem? Like if you're an ant, he probably doesn't have the mind, oh, there's a fire, I'm going to die, right? So to the ant, there's no problem, right? Because he doesn't have a mind that can comprehend that sort of thing. So when we're talking about stress, we're talking about what does our mind do with certain situations. So anyway, she has this technique that she calls the work. So if you go to thework.org, you can kind of, she has a little program where you can look at, what's the core belief that's causing stress in your life? And then she takes you through these steps. Is that thought even true? How do you react when you believe that thought? Who would you be without that thought? And then you turn the thought around. Like, let's say I say people don't like me. Take the thought, people don't like me. Can I find evidence for that thought? Okay, yeah, I guess I can find certain evidence for that thought. Now turn the thought around. People do like me. Can I find just as much evidence for that thought? Or I'll turn it around. I don't like people. So you can turn it around different ways, and you can see, is there equal evidence on either side of those thoughts? So when you start unraveling those beliefs that are causing stress, they kind of lose their control over you. So it's very powerful. She has a book called Loving What Is, and she's just got some amazing insights that kind of help me get a handle on my own stress in my life. Probably the biggest piece of advice I got from her was, she said, in my life, I choose to believe that it's absolutely impossible for anything imperfect to happen. Like everything's perfect. In fact, anything imperfect is absolutely impossible. Like what if you walked around with that belief? could you be stressed if that was your core belief, right? So I choose beliefs not because they're, quote, true, but because they serve me. I choose not to stress because it gives me white hair. I choose not to stress because I'm vain. I just gave it up. I was like, yeah, don't make me old fast. Don't want that, so I'll just give it up. Anyways, so try that on. So then the situation, let's say I get into a car accident, and I'm like, but I have the core belief that it's impossible for anything imperfect to happen. So then the game becomes, now I got to figure out how that situation was perfect. Sometimes that might take a while, but I don't know. Try it on. So these aren't things for you to believe. They're things for you to go out and try them out and see if, not if they're true, but if they reduce your stress. Okay. So, being spiritual for me isn't about walking around with the right views, the right beliefs. It's about discovering your own principles, the principles that work for you, that make your life a success, that make you enjoy your life more. So, I don't choose beliefs just because they're, I don't know, written in some book somewhere, but because my experience matches with those beliefs, or those beliefs serve me in some way. So I'll tell you what, don't try to be like anybody else. I want you, if you're miserable, I want you to give yourself complete permission to be miserable. In fact, if any joy comes up in you, just stop. Just stop it. Just be miserable. I don't want any ounce of happiness to come through you. Just be completely miserable. And he could only do it for 3 seconds, and then he burst out laughing. So I got something profound in that. It's like people who try to be positive thinkers. It's like, I should think positively. I should have a positive attitude. I shouldn't be negative. And what happens when you try to do that?
You can't succeed.
Yeah, right.
You can't last forever.
You can't. So you kind of walk around with kind of this like low-grade irritation all the time, but I'm trying to be happy. So in high school, I don't know, my mom told me I should smile more. I'll make more friends. I thought that was so silly. Just smile more. Oh, you're not authentic as that, right? When I'm happy, I'll smile. So I came up with this idea of, conscious complaining. So you're either in a state of gratitude, like when there's no issue going on, you're just like, life is good, right? I'm glad to be alive, as opposed to the alternative. So, so we either have some complaints or we're in a state of gratitude, right? Because, so the complaints, I realize they're kind of like, if you think about it like a little child who comes up crying to you. Like what if you just tell the kid, life is good. Look, you got a house, you got food. What are you crying about? Go be happy. Does that help the little kid?
Nope.
Tell him, be positive, be positive. You should be happy. You could be in Afghanistan. Be happy. Right? Give him all the reasons in the world. But what if you just listen? You completely listen to the child. Listen to the complaints. And just let them completely vent. How long do you think they can complain for?
Not forever.
10 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe a minute or two at most. And then they run away happy, right? Do that with your own complaints. Listen to your own complaints. Just give them total voice. I'm pissed about this, I'm sad about this, I'm hurt about this. Give yourself full permission to do that. I mean, take any thought. How long can you hold a thought for? Even the juiciest thought, like winning the lottery or getting a date with a Victoria's Secret model. I mean, how long can you? 15 seconds. It's hard to hold a thought. So when we try to push it down, we carry it around. But if we actually give ourselves permission to complain, and you know, that's the alchemy. Have you ever heard of the term alchemy? The science of alchemy? It's the science of turning like a base metal, like coal, turns into diamond, right? With enough pressure, things can transform.
Transmutation.
Transmutation, yeah. So this is a transmutation of your mind. So you put all the pressure and attention on the negative thought, and it's like a pendulum. You push it that way. See, if you try to push yourself like a pendulum, if you try to push the pendulum towards the positive, they'll swing back to the negative. So this is the polarity of life, the polarity of your mind. So if you're in negative, give yourself full permission to swing totally negative, and then it will naturally swing positive with no effort at all. So these are my great discoveries of 22 years working with people, working with the mind. Because as a doctor, you know, my goal is to create ease. Why ease? Ease is the opposite of what? Disease. Disease. So if you don't want a disease, you try to create ease. So if you have a bone out of place and it's irritating a nerve, your neck is not at ease. So I move the bone so the energy can flow, and you don't have a pinched nerve. If your body is missing certain nutrients or it has toxins and things like that, we remove the toxins and give your body the nutrition it needs. And at the biochemical level, now your body's at ease. It has everything it needs to operate and function normally. Okay? And if you're holding on to anger and resentment and frustration, we got to find a way to detoxify the negative emotions. So these are some of the tools that I've come up with. And they're great thoughts, they're great ideas. They only work if you practice them. So get in the habit. Like if you're in the habit of complaining and then all of a sudden your life is perfect, you still find stuff to complain about just because it's become a habit. So it doesn't create, it doesn't take any great character to be happy when everything's going right. But life is a test. It gives us tests. Why? Because it develops your character to find peace of mind if you can get to a place of what I call cosmic trust, where you just trust that it's an intelligent universe. Things are happening to teach us things, and things will work out. Or not, and if they don't, that's okay too. Right? If you get to that place of trust, then maybe that's the big lesson of life. What if nothing bad ever happened? That'd be kind of boring, right? I mean, imagine watching a movie where, hi Fred, how's it going? Oh, good. Nice roses. Oh, good. Grass looking good. How are the kids? They're great. No drugs. Getting all A's. Okay. How much would you pay for that movie, right? So it's like the challenges, the tests in life. How do we deal with those? So these are some good tools to kind of maintain your center in the face of those challenges. Just go, okay. Instead of reacting, you can go, okay, I see the circumstance. I'm going to maintain my center. Take a breath. That's the other thing. Your breath, it's kind of like your bridge to your emotions. Like if you're an actor, if you're studying acting, they teach you what's the job of an actor? To generate emotion when they maybe even don't feel emotion. So how do you fake emotion? Well, every emotion has a corresponding breath pattern. So let's say, so stress is kind of like fear, right? So what's the breath pattern of fear? Shallow, right? Exactly. So it's like, somebody's in my house, right? I heard some breathe real quietly. Okay. So you catch yourself breathing, or chest breathing, as opposed to belly breathing. So how about if you're sad? Right? It's this erratic type of, like crying breathing. So you can control your breath. You can't directly control the emotion, but you can, let's say you're stressed or you're in fear, and then you consciously breathe, take on the breath pattern of somebody who's happy or relaxed or in a state of bliss. Right? What if you're stressed out and you started breathing like that? Pretty soon the emotion would match your physiology. So if you study breath and you go, oh, okay, I'm breathing shallow. So if you're watching and you're paying attention to your breath, it's like, oh, okay, there's tension in my body. Oh, I've got my belly's tight. Okay, relax my shoulders. So you can control your shoulders, you can control your breathing. And that's really the closest thing you can do to manipulate your emotional state. Right? So I threw a lot of stuff out at you. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I'll do a demonstration first and I'll go into affirmations a little bit. So muscle testing has nothing to do with testing muscles. What controls your muscles?
The brain.
The brain, right. And your brain has all the information about you, right? It controls everything. It's your master system, your nervous system. Your central nervous system is your brain, your spinal cord. So it tells your heart to beat faster, signals your hormones, it tells your muscles to contract and relax. So your brain controls all the other systems. So your brain is like your library. It has all the information. It knows if you're dehydrated. It knows if you're low in vitamin C. It knows if you're carrying, a charge, with your parents still. Let's say something happened with a sibling, your parents, or a teacher, or somebody beat you up when you were 6 years old. Like if you still are carrying, an emotional charge about that things. So your brain's like this library of information. At the subconscious mind, consciously we might not have access to all that information, but subconsciously we do. So muscle testing is a technique for getting access to that data. The idea being that think about like a radio tower. It's broadcasting music, or it's broadcasting, whatever it's broadcasting. But it's kind of worthless unless you have so that's a transmitter, and what else do you need to listen to that? You need a receiver. So that's what a radio is a receiver. So what if the brain, or the intelligence of the body, the heart has its own brain, the heart has its own intelligence. So the brain isn't the only intelligence center in the body. Emotional intelligence, that's the heart. What if that's transmitting all the information about what we need to heal? But there's no receiver. There's no doctor out there that knows how to listen to that information. There's no radio to pick up that information. Well, that's what muscle testing is. So for the past 3 years, I've been teaching people how to tap into that information. And you can use it to heal yourself, to find out anything. You can find out, does my body want to eat eggs for breakfast? Yes or no. So essentially it gives you yes, no answers. You ask a question, it'll give you a yes, no answer. As a chiropractor, it can tell me what bones are out of place. So it's easier to understand it when you see it. So
does it have anything to do with, I've just seen this where somebody's had me or somebody else put like a paper that says yes in this hand and put it in front, and then the other says no, and somebody will ask a question, and you may lean one way or another? Or is that?
I actually haven't heard of that technique, but that's very similar. Yeah, that's the same principle. When I come up, I'll demonstrate.
Okay.
Thanks for going.
Sure. Okay.
All right, head up that way. Let's see. Get your glasses. Land it up.
That's Carrie, by the way.
Hi.
Hi.
So let me have this arm.
Okay.
So elbow straight. So muscles, hold strong, hold strong. So you resist when I push. Good. So muscles turn on and off, right? So if I flex my bicep does this, my tricep does that. If they both fired at the same time, my arm couldn't move. You get that? Because they have opposite motions. So if I flex my bicep, let's say I'm doing a curl, my tricep better turn off because I'd be like playing tug of war with myself. You couldn't move, it's very inefficient. So the nerve to the extensor muscle, this is a flexor muscle, this is an extensor muscle. The nerve to the extensor has to shut the electricity off so that muscle doesn't fire when I'm doing this. And then the opposite, the extensor turns on and the flexor turns off when I do that. So if a guitarist is doing that, think how fast the nerves and muscles are turning on and off so that they don't interfere with each other, right? So muscles and nerves turning on and off, we do it hundreds of times a second when we're moving. So just using that natural phenomenon, Carrie?
Mm-hmm.
So when she says something true, say, my name is Carrie.
My name is Carrie.
Hold strong, hold. See, that blocks. I'm pushing about as hard as I can. All right, say something that's not true.
Okay. My name is Larry.
Your name is Larry. Okay, hold nice and strong. You use my pinky. Fight all you want. Say your name's Larry.
My name is Larry.
Pinky down. So using that little party trick, we can ask anything and tap into whether the computer in her brain agrees with that statement or disagrees with that statement. That makes me as a doctor look really good because I have access to this almost godlike intelligence called her subconscious mind, which will walk me through exactly what she needs to heal. So, when I work on somebody, it's like somebody lays down. Imagine you're the doctor. Okay, where do I start? She looks fine to me, right? Do I rub here? I mean, where do you start? Do I work on where she hurts? Do I fix her diet? Do I analyze her emotions? I mean, where do you start as a doctor, right? Because it's all her chemistry, her diet, her physical trauma, her mental and emotional state. All of that are different aspects of her. So if I was going to work on her, I would say, hold strong. Her top priority is not structural. Okay, if it had come up structural, I would have checked to see if it's bones or muscles, right? Bones or soft tissue. But it said, when I said her top priority is not structural, hold strong, she held strong, which means her system agrees with that statement. You get it? If I make a statement and she agrees with it, like she said, my name is Carrie, her system agreed with that, she held strong.
So what you're saying is the subconscious is actually saying this is true.
Yes.
And whenever you say, oh, there's a fault in there, the subconscious is saying, yeah, go ahead and let them know that. It's all right. It's just...
Yeah, when I say something that's not true, if I said something that's not true, like let's say I said her top priority is not emotional, but it was emotional. Let's say her highest priority for her healing was emotional. It would go weak because that was a false statement I just said. So if I say something that's not true, like her name is Larry, the computer in her brain doesn't have a sense of humor. It doesn't know, we're kidding or anything. It's like a database. It says, no, that's not in alignment with my data. and it creates a disruption. It disrupts the flow of electricity to the muscle, and the muscle goes weak. It's kind of neat. So when I work on somebody, I look at them as a solid, liquid, and a gas. So a solid is the bones and the muscles. The liquid is everything in her blood, the cells, the vitamins, minerals, hormones, enzymes, infections, everything that's water soluble, that lives in the fluids of her body. And then the gas is her thoughts, emotions, chi, acupuncture channels, everything non-physical, her core beliefs. So hold strong. Her top priority is not chemical. Hold. Everybody agrees with that too. So structural, chemical, and then her as an energetic being. So if I said her top priority is not energetic, it goes really weak. So with 3 muscle tests, I can determine that the best thing I could do for her, or the first thing I could do for her, is fix some kind of energy imbalance. So it might be an emotional thing. There's different types of energy imbalances. I don't want to get too technical into that. So let's see. Hold strong, hold nice and strong. So let's figure out what the issue is. Are you all right with that? We don't have to get specific, but we can find out. So it's not a current issue. Her body agrees with that. So just get that. If she holds strong, it means her body agrees with that. It's not an issue about stuff that's coming up in the future. Okay. Her main issue is not stuff that happened in the recent past. Okay. So it could be childhood stuff, could be lots of things. So anything big happened last week or two? You don't have to say really.
Not really.
Not really?
Well, yeah. Yes and no, yes.
Okay. So I don't have to pry, I don't have to know what it is. So think about what that thing is. Okay. So she holds strong. So she thinks about that. She goes dead weak. Right? Oh, you can tell I'm not like pushing. All right. So what I want to do is find out where. So think about that situation. I'm just going to think about the situation. I'm going to tap 3 times. All I'm doing is asking her body to pay attention and focus on that issue. So just kind of like you click on a website so that it can, your computer screen could be looking at any website. You click on it because you want it to hold still and focus on that issue. So when I have her system focused on that issue, and her system said it's her biggest issue, everything goes weak. So hold nice and strong. Okay, I'm going to push, resist. So everything goes weak because it says that's my biggest issue. Okay. Hold nice and strong. Hold that. She goes strong when I touch these points on there because these are reflexes for emotion. So if I hold strong, so she's in weakness. I touch the right emotion point. She goes strong. I touch the left emotion point. So she holds. If I touch this point, she holds strong. So I'm just going to tap that in, and that'll bring her back to straight. Hold strong. Anyways, that's nothing to remember, but what I want to find out is where she's holding that stress. Okay. Do you know the chakras? Where the chakras are?
We don't go over that in this class.
You'll go over that? Okay. They're kind of like these little energy vortexes that we process different emotions through. So, hold strong. So where are you holding this? Not the lower pelvis, not the upper pelvis, not the lower abdomen, not the upper abdomen, not the chest. Okay. So if we tap in, hold, not here, here, here. So we get right there. So this stress she's holding in her heart area. Don't want to get too technical into the treatment stuff. It gets pretty. So essentially, she has an an energy disturbance there, right? So if we tap into the circumstance that happened recently, if we touch here, she's not processing this stress here. But if we touch here, she's processing it there. But anyways, in my workshop, essentially a disturbance, if there's any kind of emotional disturbance, it's like it's vibrating at a certain frequency. So essentially in my workshop, I teach you how to figure out what frequency that is so that you can cancel it. It's very simple to do. Anyways, without getting into all that, maybe just do some breathing there and
Okay.
try to release that.
Okay.
So,
You could go
What
through the
else?
list silently and fix that problem for her.
you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. All
You
right.
don't have to say what your list
Okay.
is.
All right. Well, I know what it is. I already. I'm going through different frequencies essentially. There we go.
What's going on through your mind right now?
I connected with what frequency that disturbance was at, and I found what matched it. So that's kind of like,
So is that something you just picked up over time? Is something that you personally feel that you have a connection with, or? So I've been trying to understand this whole.
Yeah.
I have a friend in the family who's a chiropractic specialist, and he does the same thing you do.
oh,
He actually helped me find some stuff that I lost in the garage by doing the same techniques. Because I knew that I see it.
It's totally amazing. You should be the next person up here.
what's it?
Oh, no,
Come on,
no.
then do it. You all should do it because you don't really believe it unless it happens to you.
Yeah.
You really don't. It looks like it's totally fake, but it is so true.
So, having cleared that, touch your heart area again. Okay, hold strong. So she grabs there and think about that thing that happened a week or two ago. Go to the core of your being that's cleared. Okay, so let go of that. So think about that thing that was bothering you. Okay. So it's now no longer short-circuiting her. It's no longer a physical stress on her body. So you can't. I mean, I can't change the circumstances in her life, but I can find how she reacts or the stress that she's carrying about that. Because
So then what are you telling me how to do that? Just to deal with it? Or, I mean, like, what do I do now? Now knowing, yep, that's the thing.
yeah.
Too
Well,
hard to explain.
Is it? I don't know anything about the situation. So is it an ongoing situation?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Probably too much to go into. I mean,
Okay.
but the idea is that if we can get clear and centered, we can make better choices than if
Okay.
we're in a place where we're reacting to something.
So Dr. Maybe you can explain that. So whatever that is, whatever's happening in her life, she's carrying it in this one part of her body, right? And so what he did is he located where the primary part of her body she's carrying that, and he basically neutralized it. So he basically dissipated the stress that she was carrying right there. And it's pretty amazing. So it's a way that a doctor, and you can actually learn how to do this yourself, but it's a way that you can release things in your body that cause stress that you might not even be conscious of. I mean, you can fix problems and it's amazing, and you'll feel different. I mean, hopefully when Carrie stands up, having let go of that particular thing, maybe she'll feel a little bit different about that circumstance.
Well, it was weird, like, towards the end of it, I totally felt when it was going. Like, I felt the moment, I was like, okay, and then about 2 seconds later, you lifted your hand, so.
So she felt it, yeah. So
Yeah.
you're sensitive, yeah. That's
It was a
really
trick.
Don't get
Yeah,
heavy
it's
in
true.
energy in this class, but I know it's bizarre. Take a holistic health and healing. I'll bring it back. I'm going to bring it back every semester. We talk about chakras. We talk about energy healing, and you will be amazed how much we really don't know what's going on in our universe. I mean, how much control we have and how much the energy that we can push the energy forward and we can draw it into ourselves. I mean, all this, and it's not hippie stuff. I used to think it was. It's not. It's, from my experience now and from what I've learned, it's real.
Well, it is real. It's just, the reason we do a technique like this is because the alternative is to guess what's wrong with it. Not that there's anything wrong. But, you know, if we're working on ourselves, or the alternative is you go to a health food store and you go, oh, I'll try this, or you read something online, you know, oh, this is great for this problem or that problem. You're just guessing, right? So all this is a way to access your own intuition, which has all the answers.